I watched through my window as the HOA president's golf cart dragged my 9-year-old daughter down the street. My child, who has cerebral palsy, was screaming, stumbling, trying to keep up as this woman yelled at her to move faster. By the time I got outside, my daughter's knees were scraped raw, and she was sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe. What happened next? That woman had nitrogen monoxide idea who she just messed with. This is about to get wild. Before we get into this absolute nightmare, smash that subscribe button because you're not going to believe where this goes. Drop a comment telling me what you would have done in this situation, because honestly, I almost lost it. Alright, let's get into this. So here's the deal. We live in one of those planned communities in suburban Arizona. You know the type: cookie-cutter houses, perfectly manicured lawns, and an HOA that acts like they're running a dictatorship instead of a neighborhood association. My daughter Emma is 9 years old. She has cerebral palsy, which affects her mobility. She uses a walker sometimes, and she moves slower than other kids. But she's the toughest kid I know. She never complains, never asks for special treatment. She just wants to be a normal kid. Enter Patricia, or as the neighborhood secretly calls her, Golf Cart Patrol Patricia. This woman is the HOA president, and she takes her job very seriously. We're talking daily patrols in her fancy golf cart, clipboard in hand, looking for violations. Trash cans out 10 minutes too long. Written up, your grass half an inch too tall. Citation. But here's where everything went sideways. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Emma was outside on our driveway, drawing with sidewalk chalk. Just being a kid, you know. I was inside prepping dinner, keeping an eye on her through the kitchen window. Then I heard it, Patricia's golf cart coming down the street, and her voice loud, sharp, angry. What happened in the next 5 minutes would change everything. I looked out the window, and my stomach dropped. Patricia had stopped her golf cart right at the end of our driveway. She was leaning out, waving her clipboard at Emma, and she was yelling, "This is a violation. You can't have chalk on HOA property." Now, let me be clear. Our driveway is OUR property. But there were a few chalk marks that had drifted onto the sidewalk, like maybe 6 inches onto the public walkway. Emma, bless her heart, was trying to explain. She was holding up her hands, saying, "I'm sorry, I'll clean it up." But she was getting flustered. When Emma gets anxious, her speech gets harder, and her movements get more difficult to control. Patricia wasn't having it. She started getting out of her golf cart, moving toward Emma, and that's when I started heading for the door. But before I could get outside, Patricia did something that still makes my blood boil. She grabbed Emma's chalk bucket, the one Emma was still holding, and yanked it away. Emma, who was already unsteady, stumbled forward. Her walker was back by the garage, and without it, she had to grab onto Patricia's golf cart to keep from falling. And that's when Patricia got back in the golf cart and started driving. What happened next? You're not going to believe this. Emma's hand was caught on the side of the golf cart, and Patricia drove away. Not fast, but fast enough that Emma, with her mobility issues, had to run alongside the cart to keep from being dragged. She was crying, yelling, "Stop, please, stop." Patricia was screaming back at her, "Let go of my cart. You're vandalizing HOA property. I'm calling the police." This went on for maybe 15 seconds, but it felt like forever. Emma finally let go and collapsed onto the pavement, about 3 houses down. By the time I got there, I was seeing red. Emma's knees were scraped up, her hands were bleeding, and she was having a full panic attack. Patricia was standing next to her golf cart, with her phone out, already dialing. "Are you insane?" I screamed. "She's 9 years old." Patricia looked at me like I was the crazy one. "Your daughter assaulted me and my vehicle. She grabbed my cart and refused to let go. I'm reporting this to the board and the police." I couldn't even form words. This woman had just dragged my disabled daughter down the street, and was now trying to play the victim. I scooped Emma up and carried her home. She was shaking, crying, completely traumatized. But here's where the stakes got real. Patricia wasn't just threatening to call the police. She was calling them, and she was filing an official complaint with the HOA board against us. She wanted us fined $500 for destruction of HOA property and assault. My kid was injured, and this woman was trying to make us the bad guys. Oh, it was on. What I did next, Patricia never saw it coming. Quick pause. If you're already heated about this, hit that like button and comment below. Have you ever dealt with an HOA nightmare? Because I'm about to show you how to fight back. Let's keep going. First thing I did, documented everything. Photos of Emma's injuries. Photos of the chalk marks, which were tiny and barely visible. I wrote down exactly what happened, with timestamps. Then I checked our security cameras. We have a Ring doorbell and a camera on the garage. And oh my goodness, did they capture everything. Clear footage of Patricia yanking the bucket from Emma. Clear footage of Emma grabbing the cart to catch her balance. Clear footage of Patricia driving away while Emma stumbled alongside, crying and begging her to stop. I backed up that footage to 3 different places. No way was this getting lost. But here's where I got strategic. I didn't just sit on this evidence. I started asking around the neighborhood. Turns out, Patricia had a history of this stuff. Not quite this extreme, but close. The family 2 streets over, Patricia had reported their teenage son for loitering when he was literally just checking the mail. She'd called the police on him twice. The elderly couple on the corner. Patricia had tried to fine them for having their trash cans visible from the street even though they'd just had surgery and physically couldn't move the cans quickly enough. There was even a rumor that Patricia had gotten into a screaming match with a landscaping crew and tried to have them banned from the neighborhood. This woman was a problem, but nobody had ever actually stood up to her because she had the HOA board backing her up. Well, guess what? I was about to change that. What I discovered next made everything make sense. I requested copies of all HOA complaints filed in the past year. As a homeowner, I had the right to review board records. What I found was shocking. Patricia had filed over 200 complaints in 12 months. 200 against dozens of different families. And here's the kicker. About 40% of them had been dismissed or overturned because they were either completely made up or blown way out of proportion. But she'd still collected thousands of dollars in fines from families who just paid up to avoid the hassle. Then I found the real bombshell. Patricia had a clause in her HOA president contract that gave her a bonus based on compliance enforcement. Basically, the more fines she issued, the more money she made. She had a financial incentive to terrorize the neighborhood. I also pulled the HOA bylaws, all 60 pages of them, and buried in there a section about endangerment of residents that could lead to immediate removal from the board. Oh, Patricia, you just handed me the blueprint to take you down. The HOA had an emergency board meeting scheduled for Thursday evening, just 2 days after the incident. Patricia had called it specifically to discuss the assault by my daughter. Perfect. I requested to speak at the meeting. I was allowed 5 minutes to present my site. What Patricia didn't know, I'd spent those 2 days rallying the neighborhood. I'd talked to every single family Patricia had targeted. I'd collected written statements. I'd compiled the data on her complaint history, and I'd consulted with a lawyer friend who specialized in HOA disputes. Turns out, what Patricia did could be considered assault, reckless endangerment, and potentially even a violation of the ADA, since Emma has a documented disability. The night of the meeting, I walked in with a folder full of evidence and half the neighborhood behind me. Patricia was sitting at the head table with 4 other board members, looking smug and confident. She had no idea what was about to hit her. Patricia went first. She stood up with her own documentation photos she'd taken of the chalk marks. A medical report about her injuries from when Emma grabbed her cart, and a whole speech about maintaining community standards. She painted Emma as some kind of delinquent who'd attacked her and vandalized HOA property. It was unhinged. When she finished, the board started nodding. One member even said, "This does seem serious. We'll need to enforce appropriate consequences." Then, it was my turn. I stood up, opened my folder, and connected my laptop to the projector. "Before we talk about consequences," I said, my voice ice-cold, "I think everyone needs to see what actually happened." I played the security footage. Full screen, full audio. The room went silent. You could hear Emma crying on the video. You could see her stumbling, trying to keep up with the cart. You could hear Patricia screaming at a 9-year-old child. When it ended, I looked directly at Patricia. "That's my daughter. She has cerebral palsy. She's 9 years old. And you dragged her down the street over sidewalk chalk." Patricia's face went white, but I wasn't done. I pulled out the printed data showing her 200 complaints. I cited the bylaw about endangerment. I had 3 neighbors stand up and share their own stories about Patricia's harassment. Then, I dropped the final bomb. I've also filed a police report for assault and reckless endangerment, and I've contacted a disability rights attorney. The room erupted. Other homeowners started standing up, sharing more stories. The other board members looked horrified. Some were clearly hearing about Patricia's behavior for the first time. Patricia tried to defend herself, but she was stammering, contradicting herself, making it worse. One board member, a lawyer himself, finally stood up and said, "I move for an immediate vote to remove Patricia from her position, effective tonight." What happened next was justice. The vote was unanimous. 5-0, Patricia was out. She tried to argue, tried to threaten legal action, but the board shut her down. They also voted to suspend all fines she'd issued in the past 60 days, pending review. Patricia stormed out of that meeting, and I'm pretty sure the whole neighborhood heard her golf cart speeding away. But the consequences didn't stop there. The police did investigate. They reviewed the footage and interviewed Emma. While they didn't press criminal charges, Patricia had a decent lawyer. They issued her a formal warning for reckless conduct, and the HOA board. They issued a written apology to us and changed the bylaws to prevent board members from receiving bonuses based on fines. Here's where it gets even better. 3 other families who'd been unfairly fined filed appeals, and they all got their money back. The HOA board started an anonymous complaint system, so residents could report board member misconduct. Patricia tried to stay in the neighborhood, but within 6 months, she'd moved out. The social pressure was just too much. Nobody wanted anything to do with her. As for Emma, she was shaken up for a while. We did some therapy to help her process the trauma. But you know what she did about a month later? She went right back outside and drew on that driveway with chalk. And this time, 3 neighbor kids came over and joined her. The new HOA president came by while they were drawing. She smiled, waved, and said, "Looks great, kids. That's how a neighborhood should work." Here's what this whole experience taught me. Bullies only have power if good people stay silent. Patricia terrorized our neighborhood for years because everyone was afraid to stand up to her. But the moment we came together, documented everything, and fought back, she crumbled. If you're dealing with an HOA nightmare or any situation where someone's abusing their authority, here's my advice. Document everything. Know your rights. Find allies. And don't back down when you know you're right. My daughter deserved to be a kid. She deserved to draw with chalk without being terrorized. And she deserved a mom who would fight for her. Stand up for what's right, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it this far, you're amazing. Please subscribe to this channel for more wild HOA stories and neighborhood drama. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Drop a comment, sharing your own HOA horror story. I read every single one, and I might even feature yours in a future video. And if you know someone dealing with HOA problems, share this video with them. Let them know they're not alone. I'm so grateful for this community and for everyone who stood by us during this nightmare. Emma's doing great now, and our neighborhood is a much better place. Remember, never let anyone make you feel small for standing up for what's right, especially when it comes to protecting the people you love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay strong out there.